What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Gems with Josh. I'm your host, Josh. And man, like I said, man, we are moving fast and swift through the season. Can't believe we're already to the midpoint of the season. I hope all you guys are doing well in your fantasy football leagues and you guys are betting very well. We're doing pretty good over in my league. I'm 6-2, so I'm holding steady. A few guys on bye this week, so on this EP, I'll be helping you guys out with those guys who are going to be on buys, as well as some sleepers that you might want to pick up and add to your lineup. So, hey, like I typically would say always, why waste breath? Let's go ahead and get to our quarterbacks for this week. And starting off first, we got Bryce Young, quarterback from the Carolina Panthers, going against the Saints, all right? Like this matchup a lot, especially for Bryce being a streamer. Some people are on bye this week. Just last week, the Saints gave up 4 passing touchdowns to Matthew Stafford against the Rams last week. I think the Saints defense is up and down, right? They're trying to figure out a lot of things because the coaching staff is obviously still new, just changed quarterback. So they're a team that's kind of trying to find some identity. So I think Bryce Young this week will be a good play. I think Bryce plays very, very well at home. The Panthers are at home this week. So if you're looking for somebody to stream this week, I think you can safely put Bryce Young into your lineup, and he might get you anywhere between 18 to 22 fantasy points this week. Yeah, so another QB I like this week, man. Surprise, surprise. Jacoby Brissett, quarterback from the Arizona Cardinals, going against the Seattle Seahawks, all right? And to be honest with you guys, man, over the last 3 games, Jacoby Brissett has had over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns in all of those games, all right? Since Jacoby got inserted into that offense for the Arizona Cardinals, their passing game looks way, way better. Trey McBride is happy. Marvin Harrison looks like the draft pick that he should be, and that offense is looking a lot better. Yes, they're going against the Seahawks, who have a really, really good defense, but I think for the Cardinals to stay in the game, they're going to have to toss the ball around a little bit. I think you should feel safe putting Jacoby Brissett in as a QB streamer this week going against the Seahawks, all right? So that's it we got for QBs this week. Let's go ahead and move over to running backs. And the first running back I like this week, man, Tyrone Tracy, running back from the New York Giants, right? I know last week everybody tried to pick him up on the waiver wire. Didn't play that great, right? But he had to get adjusted back into that system, right? They're going against the Bears this week. The Bears struggle stopping the run. If you saw last week, the Bears played the Cincinnati Bengals, and Chase Brown had himself a day. I think Tyrone Tracy will have a good day against the Bears. If you need somebody to stream this week, if some people in your league drop him because they're afraid of week 1, he's a guy you definitely might want to pick up and stick into your lineup this week if you're looking for somebody to stream. All right. Another guy I like this week, man. Old head, Aaron Jones from the Minnesota Vikings going against the Baltimore Ravens. Aaron Jones just came off of IR a couple weeks ago, and he is getting himself back into game shape, and he looked really, really good last week. He had 12 fantasy points going against the Detroit Lions, and this week he's going against the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens have struggled against the run all season long. I think if you need somebody to stream this week, Aaron Jones is a good option for you. Going to get a lot of those catches out of the backfield with a young quarterback like J.J. McCarthy. And to be honest with you, man, he's really taken over that running back room since he's gotten back. Jordan Mason's really dipped a lot in that offense. So if you're looking for somebody to stream this week, maybe in your flex, RB2, Aaron Jones is a guy you definitely want to get in. And last but not least, man, Chicago Bears running back Kyle Monanga. All right, he's going against the Giants this week. Just last week in a starting role with DeAndre Swift being out, he had 22 fantasy points. He looked amazing in that offense. He even got some catches in that offense. And to be honest with you, man, the way that he ran the ball was so physical. I think Ben Johnson is really going to stick with him. Might be a even share count with DeAndre Swift. Still waiting. We're recording this episode a little early in the week, so we don't know if he's actually going to play or not. But either way, I feel safe putting Kyle in my lineup this week as a flex. Maybe RB2 position this week. He looks like he's going to be one of those guys who's really going to take over that offense as the season goes on. All right. So those are our running backs for this week. Let's go ahead and move over to wide receiver. And yeah, man, Troy Franklin, wide receiver from the Broncos going against the Las Vegas Raiders. Troy Franklin is becoming low-key wide receiver 1B in that offense. All right. Just last week against Houston, he had 10 targets. That's a ton of targets. I think Bo Nix really has a rapport with him going all the way back to their college days at Oregon. I think Troy Franklin going against the Raiders this week is a safe play, wide receiver 2 flex position, and I think he's going to continue to get better and better in the season. he might be one of those guys that you might want to go make a low-key trade for and get him on your roster. But yeah, this week, Troy Franklin going against the Raiders, I like that bet a lot. Another guy I like, Parker Washington, wide receiver from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going against Houston this week. Yes, Houston has a very good defense, but the Jaguars have been struggling, and they have to throw the ball to kind of stay in the game, all right? Just last week against the Raiders, Parker Washington had 9 targets, all right? He's clearly wide receiver 2 in that offense, and at times because he's in the slot, it looks like wide receiver 1 instead of Brian Thomas Jr. It seems that Trevor Lawrence really has a rapport with him, and he looks for him a lot in that offense. I think you can feel safe putting Parker Washington into your flex this week if you got some guys on bye. Also, another guy you might want to add to your roster, add to your bench. I think he's going to continue to get better and better as the season goes on. Parker Washington, watch out for him. Last but not least this week for wide receivers, right? We got Romeo Doubs from the Green Bay Packers going against the Philadelphia Eagles, all right? Now, let me tell y'all something. Last 3 games for Romeo Doubs, he has 24 targets. 24 targets in the last 3 games. Jordan Love loves this guy, no pun intended. And I think he's going to continue to keep looking for him. Unfortunately for the Packers, Tucker Kraft went out last week with the ACL injury. He really was the #1 receiver in that offense, even though he was the tight end. So I think Romeo Doubs' targets go up even more. The Eagles at times have really struggled against passers. I think Romeo Doubs is a safe bet this week. If you don't have him on your roster, go pick him up. If he's on your roster, put him in there. Wide receiver 2, flex production this week. I like Romeo Doubs a lot, all right? Let's go ahead and move over to tight ends. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. Last week, I dropped a crazy gem with y'all. I hope y'all got it. Picked him up on your team or put him in your lineup last week. And we're doubling down on that guy this week. Colston Loveland, tight end from the Chicago Bears, going against the New York Giants this week. All right, just last week, Colston had 30 points. All right, I told you guys before, Caleb has really been looking for him in that offense. I think because he's a rookie, it took him a little time to get adjusted and acquainted. Cole Kmet went out with a concussion last week. Not sure if he's playing this week. Doesn't matter. I think Colston Loveland is one of those guys who's going to continue to get better and better as the season goes on. And the Giants have really struggled against tight ends this season. Lock him into your lineup. Tight end 1 production. I'm doubling down on Colston Loveland, all right? And now last but not least for tight ends this week, Dalton Schultz going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Dalton last week just had 14 fantasy points, and I think he's going to have an even better week this week, all right? C.J. Stroud's going to be out, so they have their backup in. Backups usually want to throw the ball a lot to their tight ends. I think their backup is Long Neck Mills. He'll be in this week. And just last week, man, the Jags defense got shredded by Brock Bowers in his first game back, had over 40 fantasy points. I don't expect Dalton to get that kind of production, but I think he'll have a solid game. I think you can look at Dalton get anywhere between 10 to maybe 17 fantasy points this week. With guys on bye, you should feel safe putting him into your tight end position this week. Dalton Schultz, good pickup to put up into your lineup, all right? So we're going to go and move over to Thursday Night Football this week. This week you have the Denver Broncos going against the Las Vegas Raiders on Thursday Night Football. Division game. Division games are always weird. Thursday Night Football is always weird as it is. But there's a couple bets that I like out there. Again, guys, we're betting on Underdog. Underdog is what we're doing all our bets these days. You can join on there with our code JEMS with Josh. That's JEMS with Josh. You get some promo codes on there. Get some free bets. And yeah, definitely, man. I think this is a 6 play this week that I think you can lock in, maybe make you extra money. If you don't want to do the straight up 6 play, feel safe putting it into the flex as well and making a little lunch money for the week. All right, so first guy I like on that list a lot, right? You got Bo Nix. They have Bo Nix at 199.5 pass yards. Going to go over on that one. Las Vegas Raiders pass defense has struggled all season long. I like Bo Nix going over that number this week. On the other side, at quarterback, you got Geno Smith, right? They have him at 0.5 pass touchdowns. I'm going to go over on that simply because he got Brock Bowers back. Last week, Geno really force-fed the ball to Brock Bowers, and he got a bunch of touchdowns when he did that. So I think this week, Geno Smith, 0.5 pass touchdowns, bank it. I think he'll get at least 1 passing touchdown this week. All right, back to the Broncos side. You have Cortland Sutton, #1 receiver from the Broncos. 44.5 receiving yards this week. I'm going to go up on that one. I think he has some favorable matchups against that secondary. I think Cortland Sutton, 44.5 receiving yards, locked that one all the way in. All right, back on the Raiders side, you got that boy, Brock Bowers, right? They have him at 59.5 receiving yards, going up on that one. He's definitely Geno's favorite target. They also traded Jacoby Myers this week, so I think Brock Bowers might F around and have probably 20 targets in this game. So 59.5 receiving yards this week, going up on that one all the way. All right, RJ Harvey, Broncos, all right? They have him at 29.5 receiving rush yards this week, going all the way over on that. I've been telling you guys for probably the last 3 to 4 weeks, I think RJ Harvey is going to continue to get more and more burn in that Broncos offense. He's looking really good in that offense, getting a lot of catches and scoring touchdowns as well. So, yeah, RJ Harvey, 29.5 receiving rush yards this week. Going to go over on that one as well. And that last play we got on there, got to go back to that big bad man, Brock Bowers, right? They have him at 2.5 first half catches. Going to go up on that one. Again, I think Brock Bowers is going to get targeted a ton. 2.5 first half catches are going to go over on that one as well. I think it's going to be a big Brock game. For you lucky people who stuck with Brock and didn't trade him throughout the season and waited for him to get healthy, shout out to you guys. Again, a lot of guys on bye this week. Don't panic. Look at your waiver wire, see what kind of guys you got on there. Some of those guys that we dropped this week, I think you should feel very, very safe putting in as a streamer into those positions and continue to chug along, get a W, and see where we're at next week, man. Hey, I really appreciate everybody that's been supporting. If you guys could do me a favor, definitely try to get our followers up on TikTok. All right, that's Gems with Josh. We're also on Instagram under that same name, as well as YouTube. I appreciate you guys so much. Please share to your friends, your family members, or whoever else, man, with all the support out there. We'll greatly appreciate it. And again, betting on underdog, guys. Go on underdog this week. Gems with Josh. We'll definitely be back on Sunday to drop some gems with you guys. Help you make a little extra money on Sunday with those 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock games, and maybe even a Monday night game this week as well, Sunday night. Again, guys, thank you so much for supporting the show. Gems with Josh. We gone.